and welcome to today's video where I'm just coming out with my list of my top 10 favorite books / series. So these will be, most of them are series, but there are a few standalones. Now this list is in no particular order because I cannot come up with an ordered list. This is literally like top 10, as in they're in the top 10, but I cannot number them. I mean, I probably could if given enough time to dissect everything, but I don't have that kind of time. What are you talking about? I'm busy. Anyways, so yeah, this is a list of my top 10 favorite books in the series, and of course they are all fantasy based because you know what, I read primarily fantasy. You look at all these books behind me, they are mostly fantasy. Anyways, let's just get into this. Enough talk, enough rambling. Okay, our first set for this video is the Shadow of the Fox trilogy. Now, on their own, each book on their own, like mediocre. Not great, but like it all leads up to this guy. All leads up to this. And for this being a book where I had to literally stop reading because I was crying so much, the fact that I was able to do that makes it one of my top books, because it's not easy to make me cry. Even when reading books and I'm alone, it's not easy. I just don't really cry all that much due to a trauma issue. We're not going to get into that. But this book series, if I were to read this again, it would definitely affect me. And honestly, I wouldn't mind reading this again, though definitely not doing that when I have things to do and places to be, because that series really snuck up on me with its devastating end, and I'm sure there are tear stains on a few of the pages because I was crying that much. Alright, our next one is actually a 2024 release, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. Now, I know this just came out and like the rest of the series is not out yet. I know, trust me. But this first book was so just good. This first book was so amazing. I loved every minute of it, and it made me feel things I haven't felt in a long time. So this is going in my top 10 list just because it is such a good book. On its own, it's good. We'll see how the story continues and if it stays in my top 10. But right now, this is in there, and it's like a high top 10. Alrighty, our next one is Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schuldt. Now, this book, I honestly did not think it would be as good as it was, and I'm so glad I read it and didn't let it sit on my shelf for too long, because for a standalone, this is amazing. I often don't like too many standalones, and that's just because they tend to not be great for the fantasy genre, just because fantasy has a lot of world building you have to do, and so it doesn't usually leave much time for the story and the plot, which is why a lot of fantasies are at least duologies or trilogies or more. Yeah, this was a pretty solid book, and I did love the little twist at the end. I personally didn't see the twist coming, but that could just be because I was so engrossed in everything that was going on and trying to figure out what was happening that I just loved every bit of it. If you have not read this, I would definitely give it a read. The world is fascinating, and the twist is also pretty nice, pretty good. Yeah, and also, just to preface this with the fact that I'm someone who tends to prefer third-person POV. This book is not in third person, it's in first person. I still remember it very fondly, and I loved it. So, you know what, that says a lot, because oftentimes I have issues reading first person. I don't know why. I really don't fully know why I prefer third person, but I do. And so first persons can be a little more difficult for me to get into. So our next one is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. I'm not bringing up its companion novel. Now this is the exception to the whole like series thing being something else, being a part of this list. This is the exception because, frankly, it's companion novel where some characters that are in here are in there. Not a fan of it, and that's just because it's just I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't hit the same as this does. So that's not included in this, but Sky in the Deep is such a great book on its own. You don't need to read the companion novel, because this just feels like a good standalone. And you know what? It's got like Viking enemies to lovers, and it's great. I will often find myself wanting to reread this, and I've reread this quite a few times, and it's just great every single time, and it also tends to bring me out of a reading slump. So that's always nice. Alright, our next one is Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. Now I was thinking I could just pull out like the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I haven't read King of Scars yet. Working towards it. But you know what? I liked this series better than I liked Shadow and Bone. And as I have not read King of Scars, this is still top tier from Leigh Bardugo. I do love the world, but this was much better written, in my opinion, than the original trilogy. So this takes precedence, and also for this list, I'm trying to do different authors, because I could create a list that has many of the same authors for series that are like tied together like this is, but I wanted to do it like one book or series per author. So that's why we've got this. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. Half of my video got corrupted, so now we're here again. Not even 30 minutes later, because something happened. My camera died, and then the part between what you just saw and until my second last one got corrupted. So we're recording this again. So forgive me if I go through this a little quicker, because I'm just a little annoyed. So our next one is the Ash Princess trilogy. It's a great trilogy. I love it to bits. It is more in that darker kind of realm vibe things. You know, it's got darker elements, more mature elements. If you are easily triggered by things like physical torture. I wouldn't recommend it because there's a lot of violence, which is great for me. I love things like this, but there's just so much within this series. And sure, each one of these on their own, except maybe Ash Princess, but these two on their own, probably not the best. And I will admit that. I will admit that for any books I love. But as a whole, the series is pretty amazing. It's pretty good. And our next one is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. Do I need to explain the fact that I love Greek mythos? This has Greek mythos in it, and it does it so well. It's executed so great, and I love Alexandra Bracken's writing style. And this actually works as a standalone because a lot of people already know about Greek mythology, and so you don't need to really build on the world all too much. But there's still world building, obviously. But oh my god, such a great book. This was really good. I loved every bit of it. Beautiful. And next is the Frostblood trilogy. Honestly, for this being an older set of books, it is so great. And I'm not gonna lie, I let this one sit on my shelf for a really long time before I started reading it. And I regret that decision every single day because this was an amazing trilogy. I loved every bit of it, and it was just so amazing. I loved everything about it. I love the world. I love the magic system. I love the characters. Even though they can be a little stubborn sometimes, still love them. Despite how stubborn they can be. But amazing series. If you have not read this yet, despite when did these come out? Despite this one coming out in 2017, which was a decently long time ago. I don't want to think about how long that was ago. But I started writing my own book in the year this was published. So it's been a while. But if you have not given this a read, definitely would recommend. There we go. Alrighty. So that's it for what was corrupted. And you can go back to... now you can enjoy the time when I was a little annoyed because my battery had died. And so when I had literally two left on this list. So our next one is the Lunar Chronicles. Amazing series. Great. I love fairy tale retellings. And this is one of the better fairy tale retellings in my personal opinion. And you know what? It's just so good. And honestly, for this being a NaNoWriMo book, I'm shocked. So great. Camera's gonna die soon, so I'm gonna kind of rush through the rest. And our last one for this list is the Defy the Night trilogy. Now, I know I still haven't read this one, but this is by far one of my favorite trilogies, despite it being first person. And it's just so great. Now, if you're not that much into like political intrigue or just like things like that, don't give it a read. But you know what? I love these books. I do get frustrated with the romance in it, but that's because I just want them to be together and understand each other and know each other and just be good. But yeah, so definitely would give this a shot if you haven't already. And I will be shouting to the rooftops that these books are so great. It almost doesn't feel like a fantasy though. I don't know how to explain that, but like it doesn't entirely feel like a fantasy, even though it is fantasy. It's just there's no actual magic. And I know that doesn't translate to like every type of fantasy, but there's no type of magic. It's just set in an unfamiliar place with an unfamiliar landscape and everything. But like it's great. I love it. And yeah, so that is the 10th set of books. Anyways, so yes, that is everything for this video. That was my list of my top 10 favorite series and books. And yeah, there was nothing else to this video. If you liked the video, you can go ahead, give it a like, and if you want to see more content from me, hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you get notified when I post a new video, which is usually every Saturday, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. But yeah, that's it for me this week, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!